On this episode of Star Trek Universe, a tear in the fabric of the universe brings with it an unhinged, maybe time traveler, who lives in constant battle with his antimatter counterpart, wildly changing facial hair, and a dangerous predilection for scaling mountains while having universe-ending seizures. Climb on into your bubble-top saucer, kids. We're about to review Star Trek 121, The Alternative Factor, right after these words from our mystery Lazaruses screaming, "Kill, kill, 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 kill!"
Yeah, I remember that. Jesus. Acting choices were made.
Welcome into Star Trek Universe. We are, of course, continuing our reviews of Star Trek, the original series, with The Alternative Factor. I am your host, David C. Roberson. I have seen everything.
I am Effie Ophelders, and I've barely seen whatever we're discussing today, you know? It's a first time for everything.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen before this, like, it's gone. We've had the holidays have wiped everything. So I was like, no, not everything, but like I'm blurry on most things that are longer than 2 seconds ago.
I'm blurry on most things, period.
Yeah, like I'm just carving out that exception for like maybe the past 2 seconds.
Okay.
Usually, if I've been talking myself. Because if I had to have been listening to you for the past 2 seconds, I might still be blurry on what you said. That is fair.
Yeah.
It's a lovely way to have a conversation, honestly. I hope people enjoy listening to this nonsense.
Oh, man. What are we doing with our lives?
Sounds like yeah. Some people find entertainment in it, I'm sure.
I hope. The unnecessarily vague memory alpha synopsis. Investigating the cause of a massive galaxy-wide disruption in space, the Enterprise finds a mad scientist who claims he is being pursued by a hideous being.
I don't even remember the hideousness being all that prominent in the episode.
No, he wasn't hideous. He took on the outside appearance of a man. But inside, he's a hideous. And he kept
right on the inside. Yeah.
He kept using
true. He was evil. Like I got that, but hideous. It just feels slightly mean towards the actor.
A little bit,
just a tiny bit,
just a little bit. So, what did you think of this episode?
I found the resolution interesting. Like I got what they were going towards, but I couldn't quite follow along the way to get there, if that makes sense. Like I was just like, okay, at some point I clearly got that there were two of them and they were switching places. Mm-hmm. So I figured, okay, tear in the universe, whatever. And then the time travel thing came up, which was slightly confusing because there's not a lot of timey-wimey stuff. There's just a lot of universe stuff.
Yeah.
And like the trapping himself in the corridor as a finale, it that's lovely. That's bittersweet. That's something. But there's just so much set up to that point where it gets very hard to retroactively realize which version of him was doing at that point, and why.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of back and forth where I'm just not sure which version, the antimatter version or the matter version, I guess, which one is doing the thing and why it makes sense. And like there's a bit of a twist in terms of like, oh, he's agitated at first and very mad at the other one and wants to kill him by any means necessary, but also the other guy is just executing his plan which seems to coincide, but it then doesn't. So I get what they were going for, but it didn't quite land because it took a lot of effort to then retroactively try and make it fit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. See, like, first of all, before I say get into specifics, as I said in the last episode, this might be the worst episode of the original Star Trek series to me.
Oh, okay.
Like, but it's so bad that I always enjoy watching it. And just
fair enough.
Like, I love how batshit crazy Lazarus is.
It's baffling.
I love how the episode doesn't make sense.
Fair enough. I should not try to make it make sense. That is very reassuring in a way, because I was just sitting there like, I mean, I get the core concept, but everything around it is messy as hell.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't switch when they get out of the hallway, I'm pretty sure, when it's just still the same guy.
Right.
I'm thoroughly confused.
Yeah.
But that explains a lot. I'm glad it's not just me.
No, it's not just you. And because, like, look, there are lots of weird inconsistencies, or rather, not inconsistencies, but there are crazy inconsistencies in this episode. But
yeah.
Also, there are things that aren't necessarily consistencies that just aren't explained at all.
Probably, yeah.
And that's infuriating. Like, you just mentioned one. Like, they fight in the negative photograph corridor.
Yeah.
And then, like, whoever knocks the other one down best gets to go into the positive universe.
Or some shit. Yeah. If you knock the other one out, you can pick where you want to return to. So, okay, we're mostly fighting in this universe because that's where the story is. But it's just like I appreciate that they were trying to go for something like the negative photographing. Like that's it has a fun thing. Like, oh, they're experimenting with camera shit. At the same time, at some point when the galaxy-wide crisis thing happens, I'm sick of seeing that same photograph, like half opacity coming through the screen, because it's the same damn thing every time and it doesn't move. It's just a still frame of a galaxy.
I like that. Actually, there were a couple of bits where they did something cool with it, like when Lazarus is on the surface and they've gone down the second time, and he's walking around with them and he starts to have those seizures. They do like a cool like blurred effect, like close up of him, and the anomaly comes in really cool, like in his eye.
Oh God,
and that was
I barely remember this. That's terrible of me. Jesus.
Yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, I hate the effect itself. I hate how long it takes.
Yeah, that might have something to do with why I got tired of it.
It happens like 8 times.
It's a long seizure, and it's often.
Yeah, it happens it happens so often that I am confused why Lazarus keeps climbing rocks.
Yeah, I was just like, he falls once, and then he falls from higher up, and I'm like, why are we doing this? And why is this guy constantly just...
And anyway, in between, he's higher up, and he has a seizure. He doesn't fall, but just on the ground. Like, he just like falls on the ground that's right in front of him. He doesn't fall off of a precipice, but he is higher up. And every time they go down there, he keeps climbing freaking rocks. And like anybody, they're like, oh yeah, we're all just searching. Anybody else who isn't like having universe-ending seizures could go and climb up the mountain and look around.
Yeah,
but he's the only one that just
division
keeps
of tasks.
Like, dude, come on, man. I mean, I get that you're insane.
Yeah,
and part of me is like, look, there are a bunch of inconsistencies, mostly inconsistencies with what Lazarus is saying. But to be fair to this episode, Spock keeps saying, "You, sir, are a liar. You are a liar." Yeah. And at no point do I feel like, except for the fact that Kirk is like, I'll have the truth now. Except for that, I have no reason to believe that the story he tells Kirk is true, because they never go back to it. He says that
they just keep coming up with more lies, where I'm like, that now it's just confusing for me, because I can't trust anything he says, except for apparently what the antimatter version tells him.
Right.
And that's confusing in and of itself, because I'm trying to establish literally anything about what's going on up to that point, and you're basically telling me, ignore 40 minutes of this episode until we tell you what's been going on. But all the bullshit in between is actually irrelevant, so don't try to make it make sense.
Yeah, I was sitting there watching this episode, and Kirk says, all I've heard is double talk, lies, threats, accusations that don't hold water. And I just kind of chuckled and was like, that is the script. That is this entire episode.
You should have written something else then.
Because I'm just like, this is ridiculous. But I love the concept so much. I like the idea.
It's a very fun concept, yeah. Because that's what I mean. Like, there's the core of the idea that's fine. There's just, God, you could have cut out half of it. And it's just the way we get there that makes very little sense.
Yeah. So just to refresh the audience's memory, first, Lazarus says he was inspecting magnetic satellites or something when the beast killed every man, woman, and child in his world, and now he must have his revenge. And by the way, he's very preachy, like all sorts of like religious subtext and everything Lazarus is saying. Like, his name is Lazarus for first of all. He talks about fire and brimstone and doppelganger, like the doppelganger being the devil's own spawn, a thing I've chased across the universe, a hideous murdering monster. Even gets into some Jack Kirby sounding shit, honestly. That he's death, anti-life. He lives to destroy. So it's just, he refers to his holy cause. He wants to visit.
He does that often. There's a Reverend Lazarus aspect. I get that. Yeah, geez.
Just all sorts of talk about visiting justice and vengeance upon this monster, this devil.
Definitely the same thing. Those two words. Yeah.
Yeah, and
as we've learned from Batman. Yes, clearly.
So they figure out he lied. And then he claims that the remains of that planet were his Earth, which still doesn't make sense in any capacity.
Not really, no.
Unless he's using Earth as like a synonym for planet.
Apparently, but he is humanoid for, like, is he human in this?
I don't think
context?
we know.
Like, is it true? Yeah, that's fair.
He says...
why would we know?
He says his spaceship is also a time ship, and he's a time traveler. The adversary is also a time traveler, fleeing Lazarus through all the years to a dead future on a murdered planet that he destroyed. All of that sounds really cool, but apparently isn't true.
Yeah, exactly. At that point, I was like, this sounds like a cool fucking story that then nothing is done with that. Because it's a different thing.
When Kirk winds up going to the antimatter universe and meeting the antimatter Lazarus with the knowledge that he is the antimatter Lazarus, he's just like, yeah, dude, we found out that, or like, he's like, on our world, we found out that there was an alternate universe and a duplicate of us. He couldn't handle it, and he went nuts.
Fair enough.
And okay, so everything.
So he's just nuts. That's the trope that irks me the most in anything, where it's just, and he went nuts, or he's possessed by the sword thingy, so he went nuts. So he, like, if you're whatever his motivations don't need to make sense because he's crazy. Like, that's a bad fucking way to write anybody, including crazy people.
And it was so bad that
that's just double insulting to my mental health.
So initially we're meant to believe that Lazarus is just trying to kill this thing that's causing the universe to black out. Then it turns out that he also needs dilithium crystals from the Enterprise to power his ship so that he can continue his holy crusade. Then he switches places with Anti-Lazarus, who also needs dilithium crystals to power his ship.
Exactly. So we can't tell yet that they're doing different things. Whatever.
Right. So both Lazari require dilithium crystals to be stolen from the Enterprise. And
Very
then
convenient of them to just be there, yes.
Yeah, so, it went from like a story about revenge to really a story about dilithium crystals, but also revenge. And
some revenge is fun, sure.
Hell.
It turns into a story of self-sacrifice purely because of the self-inflicted eternal torture, which is also fairly religious now that I mention it, of having to keep him in the in-between, basically.
Yeah.
It's
a nice little turnaround because we meet Lazarus and then there's anti-Lazarus, which they never call him that. But anti-Lazarus of the negative universe is clearly like a Christ figure who's taking down the Antichrist figure because the insane man is just... I mean, if you look at Spock you say...
Yeah, Nega Lazarus is not the Antichrist, but the Christ figure, and that... Yeah, sure.
But here's the fun part, and I'm like, it makes me feel like there was a much smarter version of the script. But
possibly.
Because there were a couple of issues there were a couple of things that were taken out of the script, and we don't have clarification on that, or I don't, but on exactly what it was completely. But and this episode had some huge production issues that we'll talk about.
Okay. Love those.
If you look at it like at the beginning or close to the beginning, Spock says, "You're a liar. We should have never trusted anything that positive Lazarus had to say, because if you really like break down what everything he is saying, he's kind of thematically Satan. He is the father of lies to go along with the rest of the religious
except that's
symbolism and
that's
whatnot.
like a layer that I didn't get from the episode immediately. Like I couldn't pinpoint him as, oh, you're a devil. You're some sort of demonic force in this context. Like I got a lot of holier than thou shit from his pretense, but it's like I didn't quite get this far just watching it. Which is just like, you should make me think about that while I'm watching it if you want me to get the layers.
Mm-hmm. There was like, look, we'll just go ahead and talk about it. So, do you know who John Drew Barrymore is?
Shit. I mean, I've heard of Drew Barrymore, but just lay it on me. Just assume I know nothing. I'm a young'un.
John Drew Barrymore is the father of Drew Barrymore.
I was hoping that would be the case, but it would have been a guess.
Yeah.
At best.
He was a big shit back in the day. And he was contracted to play Lazarus in this episode.
Oh.
And then at the last minute refused to show up.
Well, that's lovely.
So they wound up turning around and putting in a complaint, lodging a complaint with the Actors Guild, and he got 6 months of not being able to act after that.
Obviously, yeah.
But if he saw the script,
I mean, I get it.
It may have been worth it.
Yeah.
So this guy playing Lazarus was actually a friend of William Shatner's. No, he was like, "Oh, use this guy." Yeah, thanks, Bill.
Sure. Yeah, we'll use your buddy because we don't have a choice.
Now, here's something else weird. You know that awesome lieutenant who I wish had been in more episodes? Charlene Masters.
Right, yeah.
She was in the blue. She was in the blue outfit. And
I vaguely recall that there was a woman.
Yeah. It was a black lady with short hair and a blue uniform. She was good. I enjoyed, it seemed like they were ramping up for some kind of story with her. And they were, because the original script called for a romantic entanglement between,
of course,
Charlene Masters and Lazarus.
Oh, well, that seems to, like, that would have wasted some more time that could have been subtracted from nonsense that's irrelevant from the plot. So, like, it might have been interesting.
Like,
you could have made it work.
constantly having to like cut over to them fighting in slow motion in the negative zone.
Yeah,
Or whatever
just
it was.
a couple fewer implosion moments, whatever it was. Yeah.
But as stated by Roddenberry in a season 1 memo, in both Space Seed and this story, we have a crew woman madly in love with a brawny guest star and flipping our whole gang into a real mess because she is in love. Do they have to do this in 2 of our scripts? So they changed it.
Fair enough. Have we seen the other one yet? Which
We
one
have
did you say?
not. Space
okay,
Seed.
we'll get there.
We will get there.
Yeah. Okay. I get the point because I wouldn't exactly be a fan of like, oh, the woman is, messing things up, but it could have been a cool way of just differentiating which one she has had the romantic encounter with. So you earlier on get outside of the fucking Band-Aid thing on his forehead. It's clearer like, oh, he doesn't quite recognize what's going on. He's clearly acting weird. Why is he acting weird? It's a different person, etc.
To make matters worse, the episode would have also featured a lieutenant who was her jealous boyfriend.
Oh, God. Yeah, okay. Love triangle. I'm out.
Be a love... What would it be? A love quad? If it was
Yeah,
four?
yeah.
Because it's not only him and
it's
her,
a square,
it's also
yeah.
2 different Lazari.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, it's a love square. But maybe the jealous boyfriend and anti-Lazarus end up together. That could have been fun.
That could have been. But,
I doubt it would have happened.
The plus Lazarus spent so much time just like screaming in gibberish and, bleeding in a hospital bed because he won't stop climbing rocks.
He's very good at that.
And falling
the
from
bleeding
them.
part. Yeah.
I don't think it would have been him who had the romance. I just don't see it.
Yeah,
Like,
fair.
she leans in for a kiss and he jumps back and goes, "No! No!" And it's like...
Yeah.
And
That
then,
is
like,
very much the level of acting. Yeah, God.
Lazarus has to come back and he's like, "Hello, my dear. Yes, I am the calm Lazarus." So, and just this episode's so chopped up and weird. Like, there's a scene where it's like, we see, it's the same Lazarus, by the way. I've heard people try to, like, explain that it's not. It's the same Lazarus. At no point in the story is it negative Lazarus popping in here for this interrogation. He straight up goes from having, like, a great, crazy, full beard to being in, like, the little briefing room, and he has, like, a bunch of, like, that... the grease that makes the beard stick onto his face. Like a bunch of that glue.
Yeah.
But he's got like 3 strands and he's almost shaven completely clean. Like the beard. And then he goes like, they go down to the planet and he's got the giant beard again. Like at no point is his hair or beard ever consistent with any other scene.
No.
Like,
No. I had a lot of moments where I was like, wow, this is a really thin beard of it's just a couple of strings where it's like, oh, this is a bad look. And then I noticed like, oh no, now it looks fine. I guess we're filming on a different day in a different location. God damn it.
Definitely.
Oh.
It was all over the place. And they also couldn't use the same same location at Vasquez Rocks that they shot all of Positive Lazarus's spaceship stuff, time ship bullshit in. So, like, when Kurt goes to the antimatter universe to talk with Chill Lazarus, like, is just very clearly a set. Like, the sky has a wrinkle in it. The sky has a wrinkle in it.
I am now very happy I watched this on my phone. I hadn't noticed that, but that's very fucking funny.
That was one of those where I was just like, oh, God, they didn't even fix this for the remastered version. Like,
no. Not worth it. It's part of the charm, honey.
Well, they did fix it for some other episodes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, but I was confused by the anti-universe being just not recognizable as the same place. Where I was like, why is it a different place? Why would it be a different spot in the universe if it's a tear between those two universes? Either make it a completely different place, Or why is it like 5 feet over? Like it's just like, let's turn the camera. Like, well, what? It's not even mirrored. It's just not the same place.
Yeah.
So I was confused by that, but it being a set makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. 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 I don't have like a ton on this episode, but you know.
No, I'm just very happy you elaborated on some things for me and got me to understand why I was just very, very confused for most of this episode. Because I was trying to follow along. I was expecting a coherent narrative. Mm-hmm. And I guess I shouldn't have done that. That's on me.
I mean, it's madness. It's a madness. And we get another one of those situations too where like because of the madness of the episode, like I don't feel like the characters are very smart in the episode. Like
no one is doing much of anything. It's just I feel like Kirk just kind of stumbles into the right universe to fix things and helps out a bit. And I guess Spock gets readings that help figure out that there's a tear in the universe at some point. Yeah. And I don't know what else they do. Why are they there?
This is one of my least favorite ways of characters expositing things. Because it's like, they're stupid as shit through the episode, but they make stupid decisions.
Yeah.
And stuff, but also like they're like smart in ways they shouldn't be, because like Spock and Kirk pretty much put together what's happening without any real evidence. They're just like, oh, if there's a plus universe, there must be a minus universe, or an antimatter universe.
Which is just a wild assumption based on fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Because there could be way more universes than just matter or antimatter. Right. Or why would it be limited to 2?
Right. Ugh. And they get into that later, but...
sure.
You know, there's so Kirk is like, oh, well, there's like he's like, no, not a tear, a door. And they're just like coming up with all this shit, and all of a sudden there's a corridor, and they all know about it, and they're all cool with it.
Yeah.
And
of course, there's a corridor because it couldn't just be a door. Imagine that.
But like, if matter and antimatter meet outside of the corridor, and Spock goes, annihilation, total, complete, absolute annihilation. Those all the same word, like that.
Yeah.
Total, complete, absolute. You don't need 3 adjectives, Spock. They're all the same one.
Annihilation
you are a man of logic.
Just pretty absolute. It's
no,
and it's just all very dramatic. But I'm just sitting there like, does this science make sense?
No.
Where do we get this from? And then we have even the. Like I said, I actually like the ending somewhat, where it is like, no, I have to stay with him to keep him there, whatever.
Yeah, I did. But like
then we have the over dramatic, oh, what of Lazarus? Where it just does not land. It doesn't land.
It doesn't land because first of all, they're on the planet, and Kirk says, "What of Lazarus?" And then it cuts to the bridge.
Yeah.
And Kirk is still bummed out. And then they're like, Captain, the universe is safe. And he's like, for you and me. But what of Lazarus? What of Lazarus? I'm like, why are you saying it again?
Yeah. Like, we've just heard this. You should have cut it out, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Like, that was one of the most Michael Scott moments I've ever seen out of Shatner's Kirk. Like, just, we get it. He sounds like he just seems like he's putting on airs. He's just like, what of Lazarus, Dwight? What of Lazarus? Like, just, okay, this is terrible. Terrible episode.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what the original purpose was.
Oh, but Dave, madness has no purpose or reason.
But it has, sometimes it can have a goal.
Yeah, apparently. God damn it. I'm not sure this episode did. Oh.
I love that you brought that back.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh my god.
I love that you happened to say the right word at the right time, but I was like, that quote, I need to bring in that quote because it's very, very on point for this entire fucking thing.
It is. So was it at least fun to watch?
It was entertaining enough, but like I said, it was just baffling at points.
Yeah.
Which just, it left me with the feeling of, well, I guess that was a thing, and I feel like I've forgotten half the episode already, and it's just, it's not great, but
No.
it was just, yeah, it was nice enough in the sense of like, well, I spent some time with Spock and Kirk, whatever.
It's such a bad episode, though. Like, the bits that I do remember are always Lazarus climbing rocks and falling off of them.
Yeah.
And him just screaming crazy bullshit like kill, 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 or just screaming no. And that's like my favorite thing in the world. Like I make references to running up a mountain and falling off of it over and over again. Like I'll always just like.
Do these references include you climbing up a mountain and just falling off again and again? Because that does not seem safe, even if it is funny.
Yeah, no, it's usually like, pretending to run around and screaming no, and then like I fall
Fair enough.
just onto
That
the
makes
floor,
sense.
or just
Ever
do
so
stupid
slightly
shit.
safer, yes. Thank goodness.
And I just scream random things about people being death and anti-life sometimes. Like, it's just funny to me.
Oh,
And no-
connection troubles. You slowed way the fuck down for me. Don't know what you said.
You didn't slow down at all for me.
Okay, I think I now heard stuff that you said half a minute ago. Christ. Oh, Wi-Fi across the oceans, people.
Terrifying notion.
Mm-hmm.
What was the alt factor? Sorry, I had to write that time down just in case I needed to check
No,
it.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I like to scream absurd bullshit that Lazarus screams in this episode.
It's truly the best thing you can keep from this episode because it's somehow the most memorable thing, even if it makes zero sense.
It makes no sense, and it makes me happy to just, like, randomly walk up to people and be like, will you join me in my holy crusade? It is a monster. He's destroyed worlds. He is anti-life.
I can just imagine you doing this in a random mall, and somehow I feel like people in Alabama might take you up on that suggestion of a crusade, but that's beside the point.
Look, the other night I went to a gas station. I was talking to my friend who works in the convenience store, and I looked over, and there were a pair of Macho Man sunglasses. They're giant 80s multicolored sunglasses, and I put them on and acted like a customer who was just standing around looking at different things. And when customers came in, I would just turn to them and hold up a Slim Jim and go, "Oh yeah, put my salted meat stick in your mouth. Oh, the cream always rises to the top, and the cream is what you're gonna get with my salty meat stick, brother. Yeah." It was a bit, and I had and people were startled at first, but then started laughing.
Oh, thank goodness.
If you're, if it's 4 a.m. and you're not 4 a.m., if it's 1 a.m. and you're high as shit, you're gonna laugh at a guy with a big beard, because I had one at the time, in Macho Man glasses, acting like Macho Man with their Slim Jims.
It is that easy to be funny when someone is high as fuck, yes.
Yeah, and almost no one comes in at that time except people who are high.
That makes sense, yeah. It's a good way to pick your audience, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I hope everybody is listening to this at 1 a.m. high as fuck.
Me too.
Good on you guys.
I always hope that, though, because, damn it.
Otherwise, they might remember our madness.
Either they might remember, or I was hoping, they would actually find it amusing.
Oh, right. Yeah. Just in general, that would be nice.
I don't need them to think it's funny forever. I just need to...
In the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Just vaguely remember, oh yeah, I was laughing while listening to that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
That's it.
We don't ask for much.
And that's all for this episode
That's
of
all,
Star
folks.
Trek Universe. Yeah, we are coming back.
We are coming back. I'd hope so.
Yeah, we're coming back.
Copyrighted shit.
Tomorrow is Yesterday is the next episode we're covering. I hope you'll watch it, and I hope you'll come listen to our review of it.
Yeah.
And
hope you watched it tomorrow or yesterday, or will watch it yesterday or tomorrow, or time is confusing.
Are you done?
No, never. Should I be? I'll take that as a yes.
You might be.
Okay.
You might be. I have the power to edit.
That is true. You might not have heard any of this shit.
All right. Until next time, Jean True, live long and prosper, and of course,
eat a dick, people. Eat a dick.
So long.
This long? How long is this dick?
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Roberson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.